Today we are still learning to multiply, but our success criteria, something I'd like you to have a go at by the end of this lesson, is I can use the expanded column method, or will become clear once I show you a few examples. We'll be building on work from the previous lesson, which was using our mental skills to multiply multiples of 10, 100 and 1,000. That means numbers that are in the 10 times table, hundreds times table and 1,000 times table. But today we're not working so much on mental methods, although we will be using our mental skills, but more formal methods, okay, to help us multiply larger numbers. First of all, we're going to revise a semi-formal method called the grid method. Simply called because you draw a grid, and I'm hoping you'll remember this from the time when we did this, to help you work out a calculation, okay? Something like 32 times 5, all right, when you've got a 2-digit number by a 1-digit number, becomes a little bit harder to do mentally. Remember, that means 32 lots of 5 or 5 lots of 32. And we used our partitioning skills and we drew a grid to help us work out the answer. Is this starting to make sense? I hope so. Okay, so we draw our grid like that. We put our times sign there because it's a multiplication. We're working out the product of 32 and 5. Okay, we're multiplying by 5, so we put the 5 there. The 3 is in the tens. It's worth 3 tens, which is the same or equivalent of 30. This is the ones, we've just got 2. And we've now partitioned and we're going to multiply separately. So we can start here with 5 times 2. 2 is in the ones. Have a think. It's 10. Okay. Now we've got to do, and this is where we can use the skills we were practicing yesterday, 5 times 30. Now remember, that means, what are 5 lots of 3 tens? Well, 5 times 3 is 15. So you could say the answer is 15 tens. We wouldn't normally say 15 tens, would we? We would say 150, because 15 tens equals 150. And we know that if we're multiplying these whole numbers together, we can do 5 times 3 is 15 and just put a 0 on the end to make that number 10 times bigger. Okay? We've not finished there. Can you remember what we have to do now? We've multiplied 5 lots of 30. We've worked out the answer to that, which is there. 5 lots of 2, the answer is there. Now what we must do is add them together. And we could probably do that in our heads, but if you wanted to use a more formal method, which is the column method, you would write 150 add 10. Ones first, 0, 0, 0. 5 tens add 1 tens equals 6 tens. And then you would go to the hundreds column, 1 add 0. And that would be your answer. 5 lots of 32 would make 160. I'm going to show you a slightly more formal method now, because the grid method can be quite time consuming, especially if you're multiplying, say, a 3-digit number by a 2-digit number, or say a 3-digit number by a 1-digit number. But let's just keep things nice and simple. So if you remember, I am now introducing to you the expanded column method, okay? And we'll still be using some of the skills that we used in the grid method. So if we had a calculation like 46 times 3, which means 3 lots of 46, or 46 lots of 3, okay? You can write it horizontally, or some of you possibly used to seeing calculations set out like this already. You can write it like this and it means exactly the same thing. It still means 3 lots of 46, or 46 times 3. Okay? Now what we do first of all is very similar to the grid method, and we go to the ones column and we say to ourselves 3 times 6. So we're doing the ones first. Okay? Making it easy on ourselves. 3 times 6. Have a think. If you're not sure, you could do 2 times 6 and then add another 6. Okay, so the answer to that is, I'm actually going to put this in brackets because we'll record our answer in there. Okay, 18. Can you think about what we might do next? Now we've done 3 times 6. Well, we have to multiply 3 times 40 because remember this is in the tens and this is in the ones, okay? So that is our calculation, 3 times 40. And I'm sure some of you are thinking of different ways, like we practiced yesterday, in order to do that calculation. You might want to say to yourself, well, it's 4 tens. I know that 3 times 4 is 12. So 3 times 4 tens equals 12 tens. But as I said before, 12 tens is exactly the same as 120. Okay? Some of you might just prefer to do, if we're doing 3 times 40, 3 times 4 is 12, and then put a 0 on. Now we've got to make sure, this is really important, that we put the numbers in the right place. So the 0 here, which is in the ones, needs to be underneath all the other ones. The 2, which is in the tens, needs to be underneath all the other tens. And this one in the hundreds, okay? Can you think about what we need to do now? So we've multiplied 3 times 6. The answer is there. We've multiplied 3 times 40. And the answer is 120. Yep, just like the grid method, we have to finish it off by adding. Now we're actually already got the numbers ready to add here. So it kind of saves a wee bit of time. So we're not adding these numbers, remember this was the multiplication sum. So we're here, we start with the ones. 8 add 0 is, that's right, 8. 1 10 add 2 10 is 3 tens or 30. That's what that digit there is worth. Finally, the hundreds, we have 100. Okay, so the answer to 46 times 3 is 138. Okay, now if you are comfortable with that, stop the video there and you can start your calculations. If you feel you need a wee bit more practice, I'm going to do another example. Those people that are stopping the video, good luck with your calculations. Of course, if you then get stuck during your calculations, you can come back and pick up the video. Okay. So let's do, just off the top of my head, let's do 24 times 9. I love the 9 times table. Okay. So we're going to set it out as I showed you before. Like so. Okay. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to go to the ones and we're going to work out 9 times 4. I just put that in brackets, so you don't need to here, just to remind me of what we're doing. I love the 9 times table. And if you remember, there's a quick way of doing it. So if we're doing 9 times 4, we subtract 1 from the 4, which is 3. And then you think to yourself, what do you add to 3 to make 9? Have a think. What do we add to 3 to make 9? Well, it's 6. So the answer to 4 times 9 is 36, okay? And then we go to the tens, okay? So I'm going to write that here just to remind me of what I'm doing. And again, if you don't want to do this part, if you're feeling quite confident, you don't need to. So 9 times 2. 2 lots of 9 or double 9 is 18. So 2 times 9 is 18, but I actually want I want 9 times 20. Now 20 is 10 times bigger than 2. So in fact, the answer is not going to be 18, but we need to use 0 as a placeholder, and the answer is 180. And then we need to add again. So I'll put the add sign there just to remind me of what I'm doing. 6 add 0 is 6. 3 add 8. So 3 tens add 8 tens. Biggest number in your head is 8. Count on, 3 fingers up. 9, 10, 11. So it's 11. Got a bit of a problem here. You remember what to do. Can't have 11 tens. 10 tens makes 100, so 10 tens makes 100, so we put a 1 there and a 1 there. Therefore, we've got our 11 tens. Okay? 1 add 1. It's 2. That was the hundreds that I added there. So the final answer is 216. So it's a method of working out, it's called the expanded column method of working out how to multiply a 2-digit or a 3-digit number by a 1-digit number. Good luck, guys, with your calculations today.